Hi everyone, it's Dave here. I hope you're okay. Today's video, I'm going to discuss a few topics, but they are all comprised of one great big topic, the Great Reset. Conspiracy theory, I hear some of you say. Well, no, it's not. It is a conspiracy, you're right. A conspiracy against the people in this world by dark forces that are spreading evil and manipulating us. Or manipulating large swathes of us. But it's conspiracy, fact. And I'm going to prove to you how and why it is in a few minutes' time. And well, just before I start, actually, if you like my content and you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like, comment, and share. I would really appreciate that. It's funny looking back over the last few months now, and for the last few months, I've talked a lot about this. You've been able to divide people into those who question and those who don't. And there are more now we're at the stage where there's a large number of people they're wiping the sleep from their eyes. They've woken up from a 6-month-long slumber and they're starting to ask questions, which is great. And I did a video about that the other day. People are now realising that those who challenge the narrative, who ask real insightful questions that needed to be asked, and who were dismissed as conspiracy theorists and basket cases, in fact weren't. They were speaking truth. Now granted, I know that there are still some poor deluded souls who believe in everything that their TV is spouting at them every day. But those numbers are diminishing and more people are joining those of us who are questioning and who are trying to seek what the truth really is. However, we need to make the jump pretty quick and in large numbers we're at the stage of questioning now, where a lot of people are. What's going on? You know, people are saying, what's going on? Can this really be happening? Well, yes, it is. There needs to be some more overt and organised opposition, resistance and protests. Now, so let's talk about the lockdown first of all. I mean, of course, when they announced, well, let's acknowledge the fact that the 3-week lockdown, it started on March the 23rd. We've been in a form of lockdown ever since. We've not had our freedoms given back to us. We're in a full-on lockdown, at the moment. Granted, it feels different to the last lockdown, as I talked about in the last video, but it's still a lockdown. We were told by the government, by Boris Johnson, that the lockdown would end on the 2nd of December. Now, it's not going to end because we're going to be moving to tiered restrictions, i.e. lockdown, after the 2nd of December. So don't think that lockdown ends on the 2nd of December. It won't, no matter what they say. However, I'm very concerned about what's coming in January and the psychological blackmail that is starting to make itself apparent. So, it is becoming increasingly apparent that in order for families to celebrate Christmas together, the price they're going to pay for that, the price they're going to pay for having a normal Christmas, is a weeks-long or month-long lockdown in deepest, darkest winter in January, which is the most difficult month for a lot of people at the best of times anyway. Listen to this from Professor Andrew Haywood, who says there will be a cost to families gathering together at Christmas. Professor Haywood, a member of the Government Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, that collection of communist tyrants. My personal view is we're putting far too much emphasis on having a near normal Christmas. Now, without wanting to sound too much like Greta Thunberg here, that poor brainwashed child, I'm not going to say, how dare you? I'm going to say, how fucking dare you, Professor Paul Haywood? And apologies for the language. How dare you? Who do you think you are? Who do these scientists think they are? These scientists, politicians and journalists. The day cannot come soon enough when these evil bastards pay for their sins, whether in this life or the next. But this is where we are now. And it is absolutely crucial that people don't fall for this latest psychological trick from the government. Nobody in government has a right to tell me or you where you can go, who you can see, and whether you can celebrate Christmas in the way you want to celebrate it or not. They do not have that right, and people need to remember that. They need to remember that governments do not have the right to tell you to be free or not. Governments take away freedoms, they do not give freedoms. So, the vaccine, it's also becoming increasingly apparent now that there is a substantial risk that this vaccine is going to be mandatory. There's also a massive risk that general conversation around the vaccine as well, information pertaining to the risks of the vaccine or possible risks in particular, is going to be suppressed. Now, I don't have a problem with vaccines per se. I don't. I understand the need for vaccines. I do. My problem with this particular vaccine is A, the speed with which it's been developed, and B, the agenda behind it, particularly the agenda behind it. But most of all, if and when it is going to be mandated, that is it. Life as we know it has changed forever. Previous generations have been enslaved by the threat of violence or actual violence, enslaved by bullets and guns. That always comes to an end, whether in a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade, or 100 years. Ultimately, wartime ends and you move to peace. Once mankind is enslaved by technology, that's it. Life as we know it is over, for good, forever, for eternity. We will then live in a new reality. A reality in which we have no freedoms whatsoever. You're going to have to excuse me, I need to blow my nose. And before you ask, no, I don't have coronavirus. So, yes, there is some worrying developments and some worrying stories regarding the price to be paid for our freedom. And the price to be paid will be a compulsory coronavirus vaccine in order to have a freedom pass, in order to have the freedom to go to football matches, to go to the theatre, to go on holiday, to go to work, to go to restaurants and pubs, etc, etc, etc. Once again, government does not have that right, so do not give them that right. We have complete autonomy over our own bodies. We have complete 100% ownership over our own bodies. If people want to poison themselves with alcohol and drugs and junk food, absolutely, that is their right if they want to do that. However, no one has a right to inject us without our consent. We must always have a choice over what happens to our own bodies. And there needs to be a conversation around this vaccine. Very, very, very worrying times. So, I want to talk about the Great Reset. The Great Reset, I'm going to read out of the World Economic Forum's website for you in a minute, the exact wording regarding the Great Reset. And then you can read between the lines. It is code for a communist takeover. Now, just take a step back and survey the world that we now live in. And take a moment to process the changes that have happened in the last few months, in all of our lives. And consider, has a revolution taken place? Is taking place? Will continue to take place? Take a step back and ask these questions. Look at the Conservative Party. Can someone on this video please comment and tell me anything that's conservative about the Conservative Party? It has been taken over, not even infiltrated, but fully taken over by the left. All of the hallmarks of communism are all around us in our society now. So what are they? Well, restrictions on where you can go. It's actually illegal to leave the UK border now. A crashing of the economy. A flight of capital away from small business and individuals to government, big business and banks. Incessant propaganda, and I mean incessant propaganda. A population that is becoming increasingly unhappy and unhealthy. And mass suffering, death and destruction. Make no mistake, what we have in this country now is not conservatism. It is communism. And it utterly terrifies me. Let me read out what the World Economic Forum says, word for word. Absorb this. The Great Reset. That's right, the Great Reset. It's not a conspiracy theory. There is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. To improve the state of the World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset initiative. Global stakeholders. Well, I'm sorry, but I thought I was a global stakeholder and I've not had any input in this whatsoever. And I'm sure you haven't either. It continues. The context. The COVID-19 crisis and the political, economic and social disruptions it has caused is fundamentally changing the traditional context for decision making. How? The inconsistencies, inadequacies and contradictions of multiple systems, what are they? From health and financial to energy and education, are more exposed than ever amidst a global context of concern for lives, livelihoods and the planet. No, I'll tell you what's becoming more and more exposed than ever. Your evil agenda. Leaders find themselves, leaders. We don't have any leaders. There's one, I'll mention him at the end of the video. Leaders find themselves at historic crossroads, managing short-term pressures against medium and long-term uncertainties. Leaders, that makes me laugh. There's not many leaders in this world. The opportunity, wow, so we've got an opportunity. As we enter a unique window of opportunity, right, okay, to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations. Well, I'm not getting a say in determining the future state of global relations, are you? The direction of national economies, think about that. The priorities of societies, okay? The nature of business models and the management of a global commons. A global commons, that doesn't even make sense. What the hell does that mean? Drawing from the vision. So they have got a vision, yeah, mark my words, they've got a vision. And vast expertise, what of the leaders, there's that word again, engaged across the forum's communities. The Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract. For that, read a new socialism that honours the dignity of every human being. The dignity of every human being. Dignity. Don't even get me started on that. What about those poor old people in care homes? They haven't had a shred of dignity this year because of you evil bastards. Please read this. Don't dismiss it as a conspiracy theory, because it's not. It's there in black and white for you. Also have a look at UN Agenda 2030 as well. Read between the lines. You'll see that everything starts making sense. Now, just quickly, I mentioned that there's one person standing in the way of all this. Why do you think the media is so utterly deranged when it comes to Donald Trump? Why do you think that the utter scandal that took place during the US election and continues to take place has been suppressed? Why do you think that the corruption surrounding Joe Biden and his admission that the Democrats have the greatest electoral fraud ever seen in US politics, he said that, he's on video saying that, has been suppressed? Why? Why? I'll tell you why. Because there's one man standing in the way of this agenda, of this vision, and of them fully implementing it. And that man's name is Donald Trump. He is the last stand, the last true leader, the only real leader in this world, standing in the way, which is why he's been painted as the bad guy. So there we are. That's today's video. There's not much hope left. There is some. But please read this. Please educate yourselves about what is going on here. Don't just dismiss anything that sounds uncomfortable and that makes you feel uncomfortable as a conspiracy theory. Remember that to feel comfortable is not a healthy state of affairs. It's the ultimate corrupting entity, too much comfort. This all makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'm highly worried, very concerned. I really, really am, particularly for the next generation. We need to fight back. Right, okay, that's today's video. Please let me know what you think. Leave a comment about the many questions that I've raised in this video, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.